Hey guys, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Hopefully we can kind of move through this fairly quickly tonight. We are nearing the end of the course, and let me make sure I turned on recording. I did, okay. We are nearing the end of the course. We only have just slightly more than a week. Yes, so yay, I know you guys are ready to be done. So tonight I just really kind of want to close everything out in reading through assignments and stuff over the weekend, and particularly looking at some of the questions you guys may still have. I'm hoping tonight that we can really focus on that aspect as opposed to trying to cram some more new content down your throats. So I did marathon grading over the weekend and last week, so I think I'm caught up unless you posted something maybe today. Now, some of you are a little freaked out because you had asked me for extended time and I gave it to you, and then you got a 0. The reason I do that is that helps me when I go through and scan through grades to see if I'm still missing. And that way I can remind you to, hey, just FYI, you still need to get this to me. So if you're one of those people that got a 0, don't panic. Just go ahead and do your assignment, get it submitted, but shoot me an email and let me know that you have now submitted that missing assignment so I can go in and grade it and update it. Sometimes the grade book in Moodle is a little hard for me to pick out particular pieces. So like I said, do not freak out about that. Also, don't forget the course closes a week from Saturday. Normally we close on Sunday, but this time we're closing it on we've always done it on Saturday. So instead of the normal Sunday that you have to finish everything, we end on Saturday the 24th. And remember, you have to have everything in by 11:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, okay? If for some weird reason you can't get everything done by that deadline, you guys need to text me on Saturday the 24th and let me know. I do grades on Sunday. We have to have them posted by 10 a.m. on Monday. So if you're in that boat, text me and we'll talk and figure out what maybe the next step needs to be. So in the course, in the beginning, my cell phone number's there, but I'm going to give it to you guys again. Do not call me. I'm a lifelong teenager. I don't listen to voicemails, and I get a ton of robocall stuff, so I may not answer. So just text me, tell me who you are, and we can either resolve it over text or I will call you. Okay? So my cell phone number, if you don't have it or you think you might need it, it is 972-342-1609. Okay? And like I said, I'll work with you. Just let me know what's going on. The other thing that I wanted to let you know is you should have gotten an email from LSUS asking you to do your survey or evaluation of the course. Please do that. I don't know who says what, so it's all anonymous. It just comes to me as data. But I really do use that information to help adjust the course. This EDL700 I've taught quite a bit, but I'm constantly looking to improve and to make the course easy to navigate, useful and helpful. And I will tell you, pretty much every suggestion that I can accommodate that I get in those, I try to incorporate into the course. Okay? So with that being said, what questions do you still have outstanding about any of the assignments or anything that's coming due as we end near the end of the course?
Dr. Johnson, I did just have one quick question.
Yeah, go ahead, Richard.
I just wanted to confirm due dates real quick. So the SMART goals and the final, the 24th.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, that was it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else? Yeah, Ray, go ahead.
So I am almost done with the final, and I guess I'm doing the PowerPoint, and I want to write enough, but I don't want to be too wordy or whatever. I'm a detailed gold person. So I'm answering all the questions, and it's complete. I guess I just don't feel like I'm not writing enough. So is it okay if I'm brief and just answering the questions in bullet point form? Is that okay?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not asking for a dissertation. Now, you know, a 1 or 2 word answer to the question is probably not appropriate. You know, but find that happy medium and happy balance in between. Okay, and you should be fine. Okay, anything else, guys? All good? Awesome. Okay, well, let's go ahead then and let me do some sharing real quick. Let's kind of walk through our presentation for tonight. Sorry, my computer's been, it's raining outside, and I know it makes no sense at all, but whenever it rains, my computer gets weird and wonky. So, yeah, I'm sure that's just me making that up, but it seems to really happen. So anyway, we're going to close out talking about professional learning communities. So we've been over this 100 times. You know, what is a professional learning community all about? And, you know, it's just teachers basically, or anybody getting together. And there are certain things that you're going to do. You're going to study data. You're going to look at achievements. You're going to be talking about standards. You're going to do some unpacking. You may even look at student work samples, data points, you know, from a formative assessment or from, you know, something like that. But it's really a time for teachers to have, you know, really hands-on time together to talk, to plan, and to work. Okay. So, you know, if you're not familiar with some of these tools, and I just totally forgot where I got these from. It's been a while. But anyway, this is what's called a bubble map. And, you know, you can see what is a PLC all about, the big rock things. And we've talked about this. It is truly focused on learning, a lot of communication, a lot of planning, but most importantly, collaboration. So if your PLC is not doing this kind of work, then you really need to help refocus it and get it into the things that are going to make a difference in terms of student success. So we've talked about this as well. So that there's 2 pieces that have to be in place for professional learning communities. So obviously the focus on students. So you should always be talking about something related to students. You know, it may be their data results. It could be the next unit you're planning. It could be lesson plans. It could be, like I said, any number of things. But there also has to be collaboration between all of the parties who are actually involved in it. Now, a lot of people kind of bristle when we talk about accountability because we've all, as educators, been burned when it comes to state level assessments and all this kind of stuff. And, you know, we're held to these standards sometimes that are very challenging. But accountability doesn't just refer to hard data like a test score. Accountability means you are accountable to that group. So if we all get together and we decide that, you know, this needs to be our focus, you know, everybody has to buy into that. And you're held accountable by your group members to help move you forward. So a very important piece about accountability. What are the things that PLCs have to have? So it's, again, collective inquiry, action-oriented teams. And again, it's about using best practices that are grounded in your current reality. So in EDL700, we talk sometimes about the difference between current data and historical data. You know, hopefully your PLC is using current data. Yes, it's great and wonderful to look at last year's test scores, maybe celebrate a little bit, maybe cry a little bit. But once you do that, guys, you got to be in the moment. You've got to be using data that's current to be able to really affect changes. You also have to think about what makes a healthy PLC. So it is that continuous improvement idea, as well as you really have to be married to results. It's just not that we intended to do this or, you know, we tried. It really is about looking at and using results to drive you and propel you forward. So 4 key questions. You've seen these 100 times. I'm not going to read them to you. But, you know, when I found that when there is a strong commitment within a PLC to really focus on those key leverage type questions, it's pretty amazing what the groups will come up with and how far they can go in improving student achievement. We've talked about, you know, planning and doing some PLC agendas. You guys have had to do this, obviously, as part of your assignments. But don't forget, too, the importance of norms. In fact, today I just read another research article that came out about how norms are so critical and should always be developed within a group. And so these are the ones that DuFour, you know, gives you as an example. You know, you can certainly come up with your own. I know one of the norms we always had was what, you know, what is said here stays here, what is learned here is shared. That was always one of our norms. But, you know, again, you work on that, you develop that with your team. It's not you come in and say, here's the rules. You work on that as a team and reach that consensus about this is how we're going to operate and function as a group. Also, too, we've done some work around SMART goals. Remember, you have to have those as a key point with that. So, you know, make sure that you do that, create those SMART goals as part of that agenda. Again, you know, here are the questions, but in terms of the agendas, you know, people should get the agenda at least a day in advance. You know, it's not a matter of I threw it together 2 minutes before I walked in the meeting. The agendas, if they're well done, should include both goals and outcomes, topics for discussion, norms that have been agreed upon, and you can use this format, or if you've got your own format, that's fine. DuFour says you have to use his. I'm not going to push and say you have to use his, although it's a pretty good one. After the meeting, there should be minutes. And it should also be shared, those minutes, with all of your PLC participants. They should be read. And, you know, once everybody says, okay, these are good, then they should also go to your principal so that there is that communication loop. So remember our process, pre-planning, team building, all that. Somebody asked me earlier today, they said they wanted some more information on the CIA triad. You'll get a ton of information about that, hopefully, in the curriculum course. If you have to take it, if you're in ed leadership, you don't take curriculum anymore. But, you know, basically, it's that whole idea of the alignment between curriculum, instruction, and assessment. And that's part of what we should be doing in the PLC. So when I had you guys do the unpacking standards exercise, that's part of this. That's part of that curriculum piece. Obviously, we know about instruction and making sure that we're teaching and using best practices. And of course, we know about assessment as well. And so it's breaking down those assessments, looking at the questions, how they're asked, how they're, you know, how students are tricked into getting the wrong answer sometimes. And it's making sure that all of that is aligned to what we're actually doing in the classroom. So the framework, so we've talked about this, you know, obviously mission, vision, values, and goals is really important. You know, the team should depend on each other and work together. And of course, we're always focused on continuous improvement. So missions can be, you know, let me start that sentence over. So when we talk about mission, you know, a lot of people say, well, how do I really, you know, get to the meat of that? How do we create that? Well, you know, these are some very simple questions that can guide you in that. So when you're developing that mission, it should answer 2 questions. Why are we here and why do we exist? Your vision should be about the future. So what kind of school or district do we hope to become? That's your hope statement in a way. Values, how do we behave to create the kind of school we hope to become? And then goals, what steps are we going to take to get them? And that's where those SMART goals come into play. Obviously, effective PLCs, you know, how do you know if you're effective? Well, first of all, there is a lot of collaboration. Ideally, there's time built in the school day and calendar for collaboration in PLC meetings. You have those specific and measurable goals, and you're constantly looking to see how close you are getting to actually reaching those. There is a focus on learning, and there's a focus on students, not only what they've learned, but, you know, how do you know if they've learned it? What do we do when they don't learn? And that you're using data and information. But also don't forget about those students who've already at mastery. So what are you going to do to continue their growth, even though they're already at the standard that you want everybody else to be? So you have to be very focused on results. So of course, you have to know what are your strengths and weaknesses. You use the SMART goals to craft those goals and objectives. And then you also have to have progress measures. And remember, it can be something as simple as that exit ticket at the end of every class period. It can be a thumbs up, a thumbs down. It can be, you know, show me on your fingers, you know, what you think this answer is. It can be something that simple to something much more complex. So, you know, you'll notice in this course, you know, you started fairly simple with some discussion forums and a reflective essay, and then the work became increasingly challenging as you had to develop plans and really apply what you're learning. It's the same idea when you're planning for instruction within a professional learning community. So where did these come from? These are some really great resources, guys. Just do a Google search on them. And, you know, quite frankly, they're not copyrighted, so I would just steal whatever you want out of them. But, you know, the guidebook from Crowley ISD is really, really good. So is also the one from Bloomington. Excellent, excellent samples. And like I said, all you have to do is go in and basically pull out the pieces you want and adapt them accordingly. So there's a list for you of those. And ignore that because I just realized it's got the wrong date on it. I guess I'm just really wishing it were March. I don't know where that came from. So let me turn off stop sharing. Stop sharing, stop sharing. There we go. Okay, so with all that being said, what questions do you guys have that you're like, okay, we did a bunch of stuff, I understand a bunch of stuff, but there's still some things that I'm just really unclear about?
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Brandon.
I work at a school. It's a very small school, and it's a magnet school.
Okay.
And we don't have planning periods in
Wow.
during our day. So
Okay.
how would you institute PLCs if you don't have planning periods?
Yeah, I've never been in a school where we didn't have planning periods. We were always mandated by the state to give teachers at least 45 minutes a day of planning time.
Wow. It's supposed to be, but
Yeah,
they get around it somehow.
Yeah, exactly. But I've had situations where we couldn't get everybody in a common planning period, particularly in a small school. It's hard because you don't have enough places to put kids so that a certain group of teachers can be off together. So what we did is we had a rotating schedule, and our PLCs met every other week. Okay, so, you know, we had this schedule, and it was done for us before school or after school. The teams decided which they wanted to do, and they could either pick morning or afternoon, I didn't care which, but we also made sure we limited our PLC times to about no more than 45 minutes each meeting once a week. Now, once the team decided on their day, we published the calendar literally for the entire school year. And so because in my school, even when I was in the smaller school, we had multiple PLCs. We had our administrative team PLC. We had what was called our campus instructional leadership team PLC, which was made up of my department chairs, myself, the counselor, that kind of group. We had principals council PLC. And so in the instructional one, we only talked instruction. So we would talk about, you know, how whatever it had, you know, it had to do with instruction. So we may be talking about the upcoming assessments, and we really, you know, we're really low in this area, and so we need everybody to use this literacy strategy, even if you're teaching math kind of stuff. The principal's council, because in a school, you can't ignore the operation stuff that needs to happen. Sorry, let me snooze my little thing here. There we go. You know, so yeah, if we had a field trip coming up, we needed to talk about that, or if we were going to have field day, or, you know, whatever. Principals Council focused solely on operations and administrative things. Then we had our departments, PLCs, and then I had one last one that was called TLC, my Teacher Leadership Cadre. So we would meet, the administrative team met every Friday, honestly, in the afternoon during the day, but, and then like the campus instructional leadership team met Tuesday mornings. PLC Principals Council met on Wednesday. My departments met on Thursday. Then, like I said, on Friday, we did the administrators. The TLC was my Teacher Leadership Cadre, and I'm just going to be brutally honest. I took all of the people that were the most challenging and difficult on the campus, and I luckily, I guess, had one at least from each department. And what I would do is whatever complaint I was getting or, the rumblings I was hearing about stuff, I would take that to them. Oftentimes they were the ones that brought the rumbling, but whatever. And I would take them the problem, and their job was to go out and research and learn as much as they could about this issue and then come back and make a recommendation. I remember one year their complaint was professional development. Basically, they thought that wasn't that good. So I put them in charge. I'm like, you go find out what makes good, effective professional development. You plan it, you put it on. And I was really very pleasantly surprised that those became my strongest leaders on campus, because when I gave them the problem and I made them research and look at the problem from multiple perspectives, they created really good solutions, and it was easily bought into by the rest of the staff because it was from their fellow teachers. And they knew if if Bob thinks that's a good idea, it's got to be a great idea because Bob never likes anything, kind of thing. But that's how we did it. But I would never, ever require a team to meet more than 45 minutes. If a PLC is well planned and you know what you're doing and people come prepared, like let's say we're going to be working on, standards. If everybody does their part and comes in prepared, we got ours down to about a 30-minute, pretty set time. But we had an agenda that was timed and we stuck to it. We always had somebody who was a timekeeper be like, you had 3 minutes for that. Your 3 minutes are up, and we would move on. Oh, well, I'm looking at how many people don't have planning periods. That's awful. How do you, oh my gosh. And you only have to have a lunch. Okay. Not that I want y'all to leave if you live in Louisiana, but good grief, in Texas, we were required to give teachers a 45-minute planning period and a 30-minute duty-free lunch every single day. And don't get me wrong, they deserved it. I mean, I'm not saying that. I just don't know how in the world. Cody, we need to go to the bathroom. Okay, what other questions do you guys? Brandon, did that answer your question? What other questions do you guys have? Y'all are like, we're just ready to be done, Tracy. Okay, so Dawn, your school's trying to do 90-minute. Once you kind of figure it out, it's not that bad, because we would do that as well. We would do our grading periods were 6 weeks long. So once every 6 weeks, we would get substitutes. And I would give we would bring in however many subs we needed. And we would do in the morning, we'd have the math and science department would do their PLCs and subs would cover their classes. Then they would go to their afternoon classes, and the English math, team would get together and do their PLC, and those subs would then rotate into those classes. And then the next 6 weeks we'd flip it. So, if you'd had your planning time in the morning, now you had it in the afternoon and stuff like that. And that way the kids really didn't miss that much instruction at all. It's basically the course of the year they'd miss 3 times with their teacher. Kind of thing. And it was really, really helpful to do that, especially when we were up against the gun of, gosh, we've only got 30 minutes in the morning every 2 weeks. So we would give them an extended time. Now if your school can't afford subs, I know when I was at central office, we were required once every grading period to go in and substitute in the schools to free teachers up to do this kind of stuff. 2 reasons. Number one is huge cost saving. We were already on the payroll, obviously. But more importantly, it sent a great message to the teachers that we care about your time and we want you to have what you need. But also as an administrator, it got you back in the classroom and, and made you kind of think about, okay, what are my skill sets? There's some ways around it. We've also, at my granddaughter's school, I've gone up there and sub just as a volunteer, so the teachers could get together and do things. So there's ways around it. You just have to get creative and be willing to maybe think outside the box. Now part of that is we had we just had our tried and true subs that we always knew we could count on. And I booked them for the year. So, I didn't wait, because especially if we were doing it on a Friday, which we generally didn't, because that's the hardest, Monday and Fridays are the highest absentee rates in any school or any school system, and all the subs go fast. So we always did ours like middle of the week. That helped. But I would get with Miss Grable. She was one of our awesome subs. And I'd be like, all right, I need you these 6 days through the school year, commit to me now. And that really helped, quite frankly. Wow. Catherine, seriously, you guys only have 2 30-minute PE blocks and a 16? Oh my gosh. But then again, I was kind of shocked when my grandchildren came to school here in Louisiana that they don't have music. And I'm like, but in your rotation, how do you do that in elementary school? We send them one day they go to PE, then another day they go to art, another day they go to music, another day they go to computer, and then they go to library. And that gives you your 5 planning periods right there. So that's too bad. PE, library, and computer, using paras. Guys, I don't know. I probably shouldn't even say this, but I tend to be brutally honest. Where there's a will, there's a way. I mean, if your principal, now granted, I was always that principal that would do what I thought was best, even if central office said no. And then I'd beg for forgiveness, but I always had great results. So they were kind of like, okay, yeah. I'm like, do you want me to quit doing what I'm doing? Because it'll probably drop. We won't get, we won't be your blue ribbon school anymore. And I know everybody says it's money. That's why I don't buy that. It's how you use what you got, kind of thing. And like I said, there's a way to carve positions out. I mean, there's a lot of things that can be done, title funds, etc. Okay, yeah, Richard, yeah, if you're not reading what Richard read, they have an hour, and the kids go to PE twice a week, elective twice a week, and a fun Friday activity. Yeah. And like I said, I'm not opposed to, if it means my teachers can get together, I will go sub as the principal in your classroom. That's important. That needs to happen. I need to be in those rooms. I had 7 administrators when I was in the big high school, and it's like, if we're short subs, we'll figure it out. You can also combine classes. A lot of things you can do. Okay. Any other comments, questions, concerns? Yeah, Melissa, go ahead. Are you waving like, yes, everything's great, or you want to talk? Okay, well, I mean, you guys get extra 30 minutes back tonight. So for those of you that have pretty much finished everything, I'm trying to stay on top of grading. But, oh, that's okay, Melissa. It was your daughter. She's adorable, by the way. I've really enjoyed having you guys in class. It just is, it's always such a pleasure to get to work with teachers and administrators and people in the schools. I really, really miss that time in my life to get to be around you guys, because I think I get a little irritated when they talk about, how police are heroes and soldiers are heroes. Don't get me wrong, they're heroes. But they oftentimes don't include teachers. And I'm thinking, I've never had, well, I have actually. So I've never had anybody shoot at me, but, spend a day in a classroom with kindergartners the first day of school when you're herding little cats around to try to get them to understand. Or when you're seniors, the last month of school just kind of quit on you. And you're dealing with irate parents and ridiculous testing requirements and so many things. You guys truly are my heroes. And I feel so privileged and honored to get to work with y'all. So hopefully we'll finish out. Everything will be great. And I hope to see you guys in future classes. I think I'm going to be teaching primarily starting spring maybe, doing the urban ed classes. We've added a whole new urban ed strand. But like I said, if there's anything I can ever do for you guys, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm just an email or a text away. Okay? So thank you guys. You are awesome and wonderful. Please know that, like I said, you are truly the heroes, I think. And thank you so much for taking care of our children. Y'all have a great night.